Chapter 1. The Thief. You invite to dinner. Why your life is shorter than you think. Close your eyes now, listen, not just to my voice, but to the quiet settling of the house, the sigh of the night outside your window. Can you hear it? Beneath the stillness, a faint, relentless sound, like sand slipping through an hourglass held just out of sight. That, my dear listener, is the sound of your life, your precious, irreplaceable life. And Seneca, old Seneca, writing by lamplight in a Rome thick with noise and ambition, he heard it too. He heard it clearer than most. He called time the one commodity we squander most freely, the thief we welcome through our own front door, offering him the best seat at our table. What if I told you, right here, in the quiet dark, that you might already be halfway through your feast, and you've barely tasted a single bite? What happens to the soul that never learns to lock the door against that smiling thief? Imagine him, not the stern statue, but a man, perhaps sitting in his study, the scent of papyrus and lamp oil thick in the air. Outside, Rome clamors. Chariots rattle, voices rise in argument or laughter, the immense crushing weight of an empire going about its busy, distracted life. But inside, Seneca dips his stylus, his brow furrowed not with anger, but with a profound, aching sadness. He sees it everywhere, the frantic pursuit of position, the clinking of coins, the desperate grasping for pleasures that evaporate like morning mist on the Tiber, all while the sand falls. He writes, his words flowing like a quiet river against the city's roar. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Feel the weight of that. Not fate, not the gods, but us. We are the architects of our own scarcity. Think of your own days, the minutes lost scrolling through faces on a screen, brighter than this room, the hours poured into tasks that leave your soul feeling thin and brittle, the evenings drained by a low hum of worry about tomorrow, or next week, or a future that hasn't even taken shape yet. Seneca saw this 2,000 years ago. He called it living in anticipation. Borrowing trouble from a future we cannot control, while the rich, ripe, present moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this quiet darkness, slips through our fingers like water. He whispers across the centuries, "You are living as if destined to live forever. Your own frailty never occurs to you. You are arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours." Can you feel the gentle urgency? Like a friend placing a hand on your shoulder in a crowded room, urging you to step outside, to breathe, to see. Picture a stream, clear and cold, tumbling down a mountainside. It doesn't rage against the rocks, nor does it stop to mourn the pebbles it leaves behind. It simply is. It flows. It uses the force it has. Now, in this channel, over these stones. That's Seneca's plea. Not to hoard time like a miser, paralyzed by its passing, but to use it, to direct the stream of your attention, your intention, your very life force deliberately. Right now. Not when the promotion comes, not when the children leave home, not when you finally feel ready. Now, in the quiet of this room. What small act of kindness, of creation, of simple presence could you offer to this moment? The thief is at the door. Will you invite him in for another glass of distraction? Or will you quietly, firmly turn the key? Feel the weight of that choice settle in your chest. Not as a burden, but as a quiet power. The sand still falls, but perhaps, just perhaps, you can begin to feel the shape of the glass, the texture of each grain. Your attention, that's the key. Guard it like the last flame in a storm. This moment, this breath, this is the only life you are guaranteed. Let the thief find the door locked tonight. Sleep now, knowing you've claimed this hour, this stillness, for yourself. The sand falls. But for now, rest. You are present. The thief of time fades with your breath, but another presence waits in the garden of your mind. Not a thief, but a sculptor, cold, relentless, often feared. His chisel is hardship, his hammer, loss. What if the very things you push away in the night are the tools meant to carve you into something unbreakable? What shape emerges when the marble of comfort is struck away? Chapter 2. The Sculptor in the Storm. Why your wounds hold the blueprint. Hush now, deeper. The night air feels cooler, doesn't it? Like the first breath after stepping into shade. Imagine a garden, not the manicured kind, but wilder, overgrown. Roses with thorns, vines twisting ancient stone. And in the center, a figure stands, not moving, covered in fine dust. A sculptor. His face is hidden, but his hands are strong, weathered, holding a chisel and a heavy mallet. Before him, a rough block of marble. This, dear listener, is adversity. Seneca's constant, unwelcome, yet strangely necessary companion. What if every blow you've ever felt, every loss that carved a hollow in your chest, every disappointment that landed like a stone, wasn't an ending, but the precise strike needed to reveal the form hidden within the rock? What happens to the soul that never endures the chisel? Seneca knew the sculptor's touch intimately. Exiled to Corsica, ripped from the vibrant heart of Rome, banished to a harsh, lonely island. Feel the salt spray on your face, the rocking of the ship carrying him away from everything familiar. Imagine the crushing weight of disgrace, the bitter taste of fear. It would have broken many men, crumbled them like dry clay. But Seneca? He looked at the raw stone of his circumstance, the isolation, the hardship, the seeming ruin of his life. And he saw possibility, not comfort, not ease, but the raw material for a different kind of strength. He wrote from that rocky shore, his words carrying the tang of the sea. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body, and this, a quiet fire in the words. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Can you feel the shift? The sculptor isn't an enemy. He's an artist, a severe, demanding artist, yes, but one whose purpose is revelation. Think of your own marble, the moments that felt like shattering blows, the illness, the betrayal, the failure that seemed to define you. Feel the cold surface of that memory. Now imagine Seneca beside you in this quiet room, his voice a low murmur. He wouldn't dismiss the pain. He felt it deeply. He knew the sting of exile, the terror of Nero's capricious cruelty, the profound grief of loss. He doesn't say, ignore the chisel. He says, understand it. Fire tests gold, he whispers. Adversity tests strong men. The sculptor isn't testing to break you. He's testing to reveal the gold beneath the ore, the strength within the uncut stone. That argument that left you raw, that could be the chisel striking away your pride, revealing humility. That loss that hollowed you, that could be carving out a deeper capacity for compassion. That failure that haunts you, that might be the precise strike needed to shape resilience. It's not about the pain itself. It's about what the pain uncovers within you. Picture a sword blade, plunged white-hot into cold water. The hiss and steam, it's a violent shock. But it's what makes the metal hard, unyielding. Seneca saw life's cold waters, the disappointments, the setbacks, the grief, as that quenching. necessary for tempering, necessary for strength. He urges us not to rage against the sculptor, but to lean into the strike. We are more often frightened than hurt, he observes, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. How much of the weight we carry is the dread of the next blow, the memory of the last one, not the actual chisel in this moment? The sculptor works only on the present block, not the one discarded yesterday, nor the one you fear tomorrow. Only now. Breathe into this quiet. Feel the solid ground beneath you, the soft support of your bed. Is the chisel striking right now? Or is the fear of its return the only pain you feel? Trust the sculptor's hand, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. The form emerging. It is uniquely, irrevocably you. Sleep. Let the dust settle. The marble is changing shape. Rest within the unfolding. The sculptor's dust drifts on the night air, revealing not a monument but a pool, still deep, reflecting the cold stars. The world rages outside the garden walls, but here, silence. How do you find that water when the storms of others' demands, the earthquakes of your own worries, threaten to shatter the surface forever? What anchor lies beneath the waves? Chapter 3. The anchor in the inner sea, where true peace hides from the world deep now, down where the night is velvet. Can you hear your own heartbeat? A steady rhythm beneath the quiet. That rhythm, that's your harbor, your true, unassailable harbor. Because out there, Seneca's Rome, your bustling world, it's a tempest, always has been. The clamor of other people's opinions, crashing like waves against your shore. The gale force winds of expectations, yours, theirs, society's. The unpredictable squalls of circumstance. It's exhausting, isn't it? Draining the color from your days, the peace from your nights. But Seneca, that weathered old sea captain of the soul, he points not to calmer seas, but inward, to a harbor within. What if the tranquility you search for in vacations, in distractions, in numbing the noise, has been moored inside you all along, waiting for you to drop anchor? What happens to the soul forever adrift on the surface chaos, never diving deep? Imagine him again, not the senator, not the tutor to an emperor, but the man seeking stillness. Picture him rising early, before the city stirs, stepping into his inner courtyard. Perhaps a simple fountain murmurs, a bird sings from a fig tree. He closes his eyes. This is his practice. Not escaping the world, but retreating to the citadel within. He writes of it with the reverence others reserve for temples. You must withdraw into yourself as far as you can. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The process is mutual, for people learn while they teach. But the core is the withdrawal, the deliberate daily turning in. Feel the difference? It's not about building walls to keep the world out. It's about cultivating an inner garden so rich, so serene, that the noise outside becomes distant thunder, not a shattering blast. True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future, he murmurs like the fountain. To amuse yourself with what you have, not longing for what you have not. The anchor is gratitude. The anchor is presence, right here. Your breath, this pillow, the weight of the blanket. Think of the storms you weather, the boss whose words felt like lashing rain, the news that landed like a rogue wave, the gnawing worry about tomorrow that churns like a riptide. Now imagine Seneca's counsel. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. How much of your tempest is real now, in this dark, quiet room? The anchor isn't denial, it's discernment. separating the actual storm, the immediate tangible challenge, from the hurricane of what if and if only swirling in your mind. He teaches us to lower the anchor of reason. Ask yourself, in the heart of the seeming gale, what precisely is within my control right now? Your breath? Yes. Your thoughts? You can gently steer them like guiding a boat into the wind. Your actions in this moment? Yes. The opinions of others? The trajectory of global events? The past? No. The anchor bites into the seabed of the present moment, of your own sphere of action. The storm rages, but your vessel holds. He who is brave is free. Seneca isn't speaking of physical courage, but the courage to retreat within, to find the calm eye, and act from there. Feel the stillness deepen around you, like sinking into warm, buoyant water. This is the inner sea, your thoughts. Let them drift like leaves on the surface. Notice them, don't fight them. Just let them float. Beneath them lies the deep, quiet water, your essence, untouched by the surface storms. Seneca's anchor finds its hold here, in the bedrock of your being. Sometimes even to live is an act of courage, he acknowledges. Yes, especially when the world feels chaotic, cruel, overwhelming. But courage isn't always roaring. Sometimes it's the quiet decision to turn inward, to breathe, to lower the anchor of your awareness into this deep, still place. To know, truly know, that the harbor exists. It's always existed, within. The world will rage. Let it. You are anchored. Feel the solidity beneath the waves of thought. The peace isn't out there, waiting for the storm to pass. It's in here, right now. As sleep draws near, let go of the surface tension. Drift down to where the water is still and dark and safe. You are anchored in your own deep sea. Rest. The harbor holds. Sleep. Chapter 4. The clock that ticks in your chest and why ignoring it steals your breath. Close your eyes now, just for a moment. Listen. Past the quiet hum of this night, past the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Can you hear it? A soft, insistent sound, deep within the cage of your ribs. Not your heart, no, something older, more persistent. It's the quiet, relentless ticking of your own life's clock. Seneca heard it too, not with his ears, but with a chilling clarity that settled in his bones. A cold draft beneath the warm togas of Roman privilege. He called it life's brevitas, its shocking, brutal shortness. And he knew, perhaps better than any of us ever dare to admit, that most of us spend our precious hours listening to the wrong things. We strain to hear the applause of crowds that don't matter, the clink of coins that turn to dust, the frantic chatter of a world spinning faster and faster into meaninglessness. All the while, that inner clock, it just keeps ticking, steady, uncaring. And here's the secret, he whispered, the one that feels almost dangerous to speak aloud in a world addicted to distraction. Ignoring that tick doesn't stop time. It steals your very breath. Imagine Seneca, not the revered sage, not yet. Picture him young, ambitious, standing on a balcony overlooking Rome, the city a sprawl of torchlight and shadow below. The air thick with the scent of incense, roasting meats, ambition. He could feel the pull of it, couldn't he? The lure of the Senate floor, the weight of gold, the intoxicating murmur of influence. It's a pull we all know deep in our marrow, the desire to be seen, to be important, to grasp at the shimmering things held up as valuable. But even then, amidst the roar of potential, he felt it, that quiet tick-tock beneath the clamor, a cold finger tracing his spine. He saw the senators, faces lined with worry, eyes hollow despite their riches, chasing. What? More power? More land? More tomorrows that never seemed to arrive? They were like men frantically bailing water from a sinking ship, convinced the next frantic scoop would save them, all the while ignoring the gaping hole in the hull. The hole was time. The hole was their own inattention to the finite, precious sand slipping through the hourglass clenched in their fist. Not gold, not power, not endless acclaim, but moments. Simple, unrepeatable moments. The feel of cool marble under bare feet at dawn, the shared silence with a true friend that needs no words, the taste of ripe fruit bursting with summer sun. These are the coins of our true wealth, Seneca realized, and we spend them so carelessly, chasing phantoms. Think of your own days. How often does the frantic energy take hold? The inbox pings, the calendar chimes, the demands pile up like storm clouds. We rush, we react, we push the important things, the quiet things, the soul things, into a drawer labeled later. We tell ourselves, when this project is done, when the children are grown, when I finally have enough what? Enough time? But later, my dear listener, is the most cunning thief of all. It's a mirage shimmering on the horizon, always retreating as you approach. Seneca saw this with terrifying clarity. He wrote of how we are all dying every single day, not as a morbid thought, but as a stark, liberating truth. Each sunrise stolen by worry, each sunset lost to mindless distraction, is a tiny death. A piece of your finite breath exhaled into the void, unrecoverable. The true horror isn't mortality itself. It's the sleepwalking through our own lives. It's mistaking the frantic scurrying for progress, the accumulation of noise for meaning. It's letting the urgent, the blaring siren of now drown out the vital whisper of what truly matters, what truly makes your soul feel alive. That inner clock doesn't care about your deadlines. It only marks the passage of you. So, what did Seneca plead with us to do? Not to panic, not to cram every second with frantic activity, but to wake up, to become a miser, not of gold, but of moments, to cultivate a fierce, gentle attention. It starts, he suggested, not with grand gestures, but with the quietest shift. Feel the weight of this breath filling your lungs right now. This one. Not the next one. Not the one you just took. This one. Feel the coolness entering, the warmth leaving. That breath is a tiny, perfect measure of your life. It's a pulse of existence. And in that simple awareness, the frantic world outside softens. Just a little. The ticking clock inside doesn't speed up or slow down, but you change. You begin to see the frantic chasing for what it often is, a desperate attempt to outrun the quiet truth of our own limits. You start to ask, not how much can I acquire, but how deeply can I live this moment I've been given. The warmth of sunlight on your skin becomes a treasure. The laughter of a loved one becomes a symphony. The quiet stillness of this very night as you drift becomes a sanctuary. This is the gift Seneca offers, the profound peace that comes not from ignoring the ticking clock, but from finally, gently, listening to its rhythm and choosing, with each precious beat, how you will spend your irreplaceable breath. It's the quiet courage to turn away from the clamor and tend to the delicate flame of your own awareness, before the wind, inevitably, blows it out. Sleep now, knowing the clock ticks, but you are learning to listen. Your breath is your own. Spend it wisely, tenderly, while you still can. And isn't it strange that the very awareness of time's relentless flow, which can feel like a cold hand closing around the heart, can also be the key to unlocking a stillness within? A stillness so profound It allows you to face the storm outside, not with clenched fists, but with an open palm, as if you knew a secret way to whisper to the wind itself. Chapter 5. How to Whisper to the Storm, the Forbidden Art of Finding Calm While the World Rages. There's a storm coming. Can you feel it? Not the kind that darkens the sky and rattles the windows, though those come too. No, this is the storm that brews inside the human heart. The tempest of worry that churns before dawn. The gale force winds of anger when plans unravel. The icy downpour of grief that soaks you to the bone long after the skies have cleared. The world outside? It's rarely still. It throws its chaos at us. Loss, betrayal, injustice, the sheer exhausting noise of it all. And our instinct? Like a sailor facing a squall, we try to fight. We tense our muscles, grit our teeth, raise our voices, build higher walls, grasp tighter to what we fear losing. We rage against the wind. And what happens? We grow weary. So terribly weary. Our breath comes short. Our hearts pound against our ribs like frantic birds. And the storm, it only seems to grow louder, more consuming. Seneca watched this. From his study, from his exile on Corsica, imagine the taste of salt and isolation, the sting of undeserved punishment, from the treacherous currents of Nero's court. He saw how we exhaust ourselves battling waves we cannot control. And he offered a secret, almost scandalous in its simplicity, yet demanding a courage most never muster. Stop fighting the storm. Learn instead to whisper to it. It sounds like madness, doesn't it? Surrender? When everything feels like it's falling apart? When the world demands action, reaction, something? But Seneca wasn't talking about surrender to the events themselves. He wasn't suggesting passive acceptance of cruelty or injustice. He was pointing to a deeper battlefield, the one inside your own mind. The storm outside, the crashing waves of circumstance, we often cannot command. But the storm within, the whirlwind of our judgments, our fears, our frantic resistance to what is, that is our domain. That is where the whispering begins. He called it distinguishing, the crucial art of separating what is truly ours to control from the vast, churning ocean of things that are not. Our opinions, our desires, our aversions, our impulses, our judgments, these are the sails and rudder of our inner ship. The wind, the waves, the direction other ships are sailing, the sudden squalls, these are externals. Trying to control the uncontrollable, Seneca observed, is like trying to lasso the wind. It leaves us breathless, defeated, forever at the mercy of forces we cannot command. The true power, the profound calm, lies in mastering the vessel within the storm. Think of him now, not preaching, but practicing. Exiled, cut off from power, prestige, the vibrant life of Rome. The storm raged around him, the injustice, the loneliness, the harshness of the island. He could have raged back. He could have withered in bitterness, a gnarled tree poisoned by resentment. But he chose differently. He chose to look inward. He turned his formidable mind not outward to curse the darkness, but inward to tend a small, steady flame. He studied philosophy not as an academic exercise, but as a lifeline. He wrote letters, not just to others, but as anchors for his own soul. He practiced seeing the exile not as a personal catastrophe inflicted by cruel fate, but as an external circumstance. The internal circumstance? That was his choice, how to be in that place. He could cultivate his mind, find solace in nature, the rough beauty of Corsica's cliffs, the relentless rhythm of the sea, connect deeply with friends through his words. He whispered to the storm of exile by changing his relationship to it, He accepted the fact of it, without necessarily liking it, and focused his immense energy on what he could shape: his own character, his thoughts, his responses. He found a stillness within the howling wind. How do we learn this forbidden art? It starts not with grand pronouncements, but with a subtle shift in the gaze. When the next wave crashes, the sharp word from a colleague, the bad news, the plan gone awry, pause, just for a heartbeat. Feel the old instinct rise, the tension, the anger, the fear, the urge to lash out or retreat. Notice it. That's the storm within beginning to stir. Now gently ask Seneca's quiet question. What part of this is truly mine to command? Is the other person's rude comment yours to control? No. Is the stock market crashing yours to command? No. Is the rain falling on your picnic yours to stop? No. But your judgment about the rudeness, your desire for the picnic to be perfect, your fear about the stock market, your reaction? Ah, yes. That is your domain. That is where your power lies. Whispering to the storm means loosening the white-knuckled grip on how things should be, and gently, courageously, turning your attention to how you are with what is. It means cultivating an inner citadel, a quiet room within your soul where the external chaos cannot fully penetrate. You furnish this room with reason, with perspective, remembering the vastness of time and space, the smallness of this moment's trouble. With the deliberate choice to see challenges not as personal affronts, but as exercises for the soul. It means feeling the sting of the wind, acknowledging its force, but refusing to let it capsize your inner peace. You whisper by choosing calm reflection over frantic reaction, by replacing "this is terrible" with "this is difficult. How shall I meet it?" You whisper by tending your inner flame so steadily that even the fiercest gale cannot extinguish it. This is not weakness. It is the quiet, unshakable strength of the deep root that bends in the hurricane but does not break. Rest now, knowing the storms will come. But within you, a quiet space is being cultivated, a place where whispers hold more power than the loudest roar. And in that quiet space, that inner citadel built not of stone, but of acceptance, a different kind of awareness blooms, an awareness that touches the very thing we spend our lives running from, the shadow that makes the ticking clock seem so loud. Yet Seneca promised, it is only by turning towards that shadow, by learning its contours, that we discover the key to living truly, freely, without the chains of fear tightening around our final precious breaths. Chapter 6. The Embrace That Unlocks Life. Why Touching Death Gently Sets You Free. We spend so much energy building walls against it, don't we? We paint our faces, chase after elixirs, pile up distractions like sandbags against an incoming tide. We speak of it in hushed tones, if we speak of it at all. We treat it like a monster lurking just beyond the firelight, something to be feared, avoided, denied. Death, the ultimate external, the great silent thief who will one day claim everything we hold dear, including this breath, this awareness, this very sense of I. It casts a long shadow, this knowledge. It can tinge our brightest joys with a whisper of sorrow. It can make our grip on things painfully tight. We cling, we hoard, we fret over legacies and losses yet to come. Seneca saw this fear, this desperate clinging, as the root of much of our misery. It fuels our greed, grasping for more time, more things. It inflames our anxieties. What if it ends now? It poisons our present moments with dread. But he offered a radical, almost unthinkable antidote, a key forged not from denial, but from clear-eyed courage. Embrace death, not as an end, but as the very condition that makes life precious, urgent, and ultimately free. It sounds perverse, doesn't it? Inviting the specter in? But Seneca wasn't advocating morbidity or a death wish. He was advocating for liberation. He urged us to practice meditatio mortis, the meditation on death. Not to dwell on its horrors, but to integrate its simple, undeniable truth into the fabric of our daily awareness. Rehearse death, he said, not as a morbid ritual, but as the ultimate exercise in distinguishing the internal from the external. Everything you have, your body, your possessions, your status, your loved ones, even your very life, is on loan. It is all external. It will all inevitably be reclaimed. The house you fret over, the promotion you crave, the perfect image you strive to maintain. Dust. Knowing this, truly knowing it in your bones, changes everything. It doesn't lead to despair, Seneca argued. It leads to a profound, unshakable lightness. Imagine carrying a beautiful, fragile glass through a crowded market. If you believe it must last forever, unbroken, your journey is agony. Every jostle is terror. Your grip is white-knuckled, your eyes wide with fear. But if you understand, truly understand, that the glass will one day break, something shifts. You still carry it carefully, appreciating its beauty, the way it catches the light. But the fear loosens its grip. You can walk with a lighter step, even smile. You appreciate the glass because it is temporary. Death, Seneca whispers, is the understanding that shatters the illusion of permanence, allowing us to hold life lightly, appreciatively, without the crushing weight of demanding it last forever. Think of him writing his letters to Lucilius, his dear friend. Think of him not as the old sage, but as a man acutely aware of the sand running low in his own glass. He'd lived through exile, the madness of Nero's court, the precariousness of power. He knew his time was measured, and this awareness didn't paralyze him. It focused him. It burned away the trivial. Why waste a single breath on petty grievances? Why chase hollow applause? Why postpone the kindness, the learning, the simple enjoyment of a sunset? When death sits quietly at the table, sipping its invisible tea, the urgency shifts. It becomes not the frantic energy of panic, but the clear, calm energy of priority. He wrote not to build monuments, but to offer lanterns for his friend's path. He tended his philosophy not as an abstract theory, but as a vital practice for his final journey. He embraced each day, not because he knew how many were left, but precisely because he did not know. The fragility became the source of its beauty. The potential end infused the present with a radiant intensity. He whispered to death by acknowledging its presence, accepting its inevitability, and then turning back to life with eyes wide open, heart unclenched. He practiced letting go, moment by moment, of the illusion of control over the ultimate external. And in that letting go, he found an immense freedom. How do we begin this embrace? Not by staring into the abyss with dread, but by inviting its shadow to sit beside us for a moment each day. It could be as simple as this. As you lie here now, drifting towards sleep, gently remind yourself, this day is done. It will not come again. I do not know how many remain. Feel the truth of it, not as a threat, but as a quiet fact, like the taste of cool water. Then ask, knowing this, how shall I live tomorrow? What trivial worries can I release? What grudge can I finally set down? What small beauty will I pause to truly see? What essential truth will I dare to speak? What connection will I nurture? This practice loosens the chains of future tripping anxiety and past regret. It anchors you, fiercely, tenderly, in the now. It teaches you to hold people and things with open palms, appreciating their presence without the desperate, suffocating grip of possession. You learn to love because it is fleeting, not in spite of it. You learn to act because time is precious, not because you fear it's running out in a frantic way. You stop postponing joy, waiting for some mythical when everything is perfect. You find joy here, in the imperfect, fleeting moment, precisely because it is fleeting. Embracing death isn't about welcoming the end. It's about unlocking the fullness of the now. It strips away the non-essential, revealing the radiant core of what it means to be alive, breath by precious breath. So sleep now, not in fear of the shadow, but with the quiet understanding that its presence is what makes the candle flame of your life burn, all the brighter, all the sweeter. You are free. Free to live deeply, fully, lightly, because you have already gently touched the hand that will one day lead you home. Let that knowledge be not a weight, but wings. Drift now, freely. Chapter 7. What the Fireflies Know, Seneca's Secret to Holding Nothing. Too tightly close your eyes, just for a moment, and imagine the softest sound, not silence, but the almost silence just before the first cricket chirps on a warm summer dusk. Can you hear it? That quiet hum in the air? Now, picture a single firefly, a tiny, cold ember drifting just beyond your window pane. It blinks. Once, twice, a fragile, fleeting light in the gathering dark. What if I told you that fragile light holds a secret? A secret Seneca whispered to himself on the hardest nights. A truth so simple it could shatter the chains you didn't even know were tightening around your heart. A truth about holding on, and the quiet, terrifying freedom of knowing how to let go. Think of your hand right now, resting perhaps on the blanket, or curled softly near your cheek. Feel the warmth there, the solidity of your own skin. It's so easy, isn't it, to believe that what we hold belongs to us. That warmth, that solidity, the people we love, whose faces drift through our minds like beloved ghosts in this quiet hour. The achievements we polish like bright coins in the dark, the plans we cradle so carefully. They feel like anchors grounding us against the vast shifting sea of existence. Seneca watched Rome burn with this same certainty. He saw men clutch at crumbling marble columns as flames licked the sky, heard the screams not just of pain, but of incomprehension. How could this be taken? It was mine. The fireflies know a different story. They carry their light within, a cold, self-contained spark. They don't cling to the branch they land on. Not really. The breeze lifts them, and they drift, their light pulsing, indifferent to the destination. They hold nothing but the moment of their own brief, brilliant existence. Seneca didn't preach indifference. That's the cruelest misreading of his quiet wisdom. He felt the warmth of friendship, the sting of loss, the weight of responsibility, deeply, achingly so. His letters to Lucilius throb with affection, concern, the shared breath of two souls navigating the storm. No, the secret whispered by the firefly isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's understanding the fundamental nature of the stage upon which we play out our lives. Everything is on loan. The grand villa, the threadbare cloak, the robust health, the fragile body, the adoring crowds, the lonely room, the vibrant lover, the memory of their touch. All are visitors, guests in the inn of your life. Think of it, truly feel it, the bed you lie in now, the roof above you, the heartbeat in your chest, all borrowed, impermanent tenants. The firefly doesn't rage against the night that swallows its light. It simply is light for as long as it can be. Seneca asks us to do the same, to be fully, vibrantly here, not in frantic ownership, but in clear-eyed, grateful tenancy. He called it the premeditation of evils, not to dwell in morbid fear, oh no, but to gently, deliberately touch the possibility of loss. Like running your fingertips over cool silk, feeling its strength and its potential to tear. Imagine, right now, the thing you hold most dear. Feel its weight in your heart. Now, imagine softly, without panic, the space where it isn't. Feel that hollow. It doesn't diminish the dearness. It illuminates it with a startling, almost painful brightness. It transforms possession into presence. When you know the vase is clay, destined one day to return to the earth, you handle it not with careless neglect, but with profound, tender care. You admire the glaze catching the candlelight now, the curve that fits your hand now. You don't waste breath cursing the potter for making it fragile. You simply cherish the miracle of its existence in this fleeting moment. That's the firefly's gift, to hold the light lightly. To know its transience is what makes its glow so precious. To understand that clinging is the shadow that dims the radiance. Think of the sea, its vastness, its power. We stand on the shore, building castles of sand. We sculpt turrets, dig moats, decorate with shells. We pour our heart into that miniature kingdom. And then, the tide whispers in. A wave, gentle or fierce, licks at the foundations. Do we rage against the ocean, demand it halt its eternal rhythm? Or do we watch, perhaps with a sigh, a pang, but also with a strange, deep recognition? Of course the tide comes in. It always does. Seneca asks us to build our sandcastles, to build them beautifully with joy and focus, but to build them knowing the tide is coming. This knowing isn't defeat. It's the ultimate freedom. It frees us from the terror of the inevitable wave. It allows us to build for the act of building itself, for the joy of wet sand between our fingers, the sun on our backs, the shared laughter with a fellow architect on the shore. When the wave finally comes, it washes away the castle, not the memory of the sun, the sand, the laughter, not the skill in our hands. That remains. The light remains. The grip of the day, the worries that feel like stones in your pocket, the resentments that tighten your jaw even now, the frantic scramble for more, more, more. What fuels it, if not the desperate, unspoken belief that we can own the shore, that we can command the tide? Seneca saw this madness in the glittering heart of Rome, men killing for status that would crumble, scheming for wealth that could vanish in a shipwreck, betraying friends for power as fleeting as smoke. They clutched at smoke. The firefly drifts. It doesn't clutch. It doesn't demand the night be different. It simply shines. This is the quiet liberation offered in the dark. Practice holding everything, your breath, your thoughts, the image of a loved one's face, the comfort of your bed, as if it were a firefly alighting on your open palm. Feel its delicate presence, marvel at its light, and know deep in your bones that its nature is to fly on. Hold it without closing your fist. Let the warmth of its tiny light seep into your skin, and then let your palm remain open, ready for the next fleeting wonder, the next borrowed joy, the next beautiful, temporary guest in the quiet inn of your awareness. The tide will come, but tonight the sand is cool beneath you, the stars are emerging like distant, patient eyes, and your breath, your own quiet, steady breath, is the only anchor you truly need. Feel the weight of holding nothing too tightly, dissolving like mist under a rising moon.
The night deepens, the fireflies have drifted beyond the glass, and in the stillness they leave behind, a different sound emerges. Not the hum of wings, but the relentless, silent trickle, the sound of something precious, irreplaceable, slipping away. Grain by grain by grain. Can you hear it? It's closer than your own heartbeat.
Chapter 8. The Hourglass. You turn each dawn. Why your most dangerous thief wears your face. Listen, beneath the sigh of your own breath, deeper than the house settling around you. Can you hear it? A faint, dry whisper, like the finest sand slipping through the narrow waist of glass. It never stops. Not for kings, not for beggars, not for lovers tangled in sheets, not for the solitary soul staring at the ceiling. It's the sound of your life, measured grain by grain. We all know the thief called death waits at the end of the road. But Seneca, in the quiet of his study, the scratch of his pen the only counterpoint to that eternal whisper, he saw a more insidious robber. One who slips into your room every single morning, wearing your own face, smiling your own smile, and steals the very sand from your glass while you pour him wine and tell him your plans for tomorrow. That thief is the illusion of endless time. We greet each dawn like it's the first page of a vast blank book. We pencil in tasks, dreams, worries, postponements. I'll mend that fence tomorrow. I'll tell her how I feel someday. I'll learn the stars when things are quieter. We bargain with eternity, offering scraps of now for the promise of a richer later. Seneca saw this as the soul's deepest, most perilous deception. He didn't rage against mortality. He saw its clarifying truth. It is not that we have a short time to live, he wrote, but that we waste a lot of it. The thief isn't the brevity of life, but the vast, yawning chasm of how we squander it, convinced we have reserves we do not possess. Picture an hourglass, the kind with rich dark wood and thick clear glass. The sand inside is the color of dried sunlight. You turn it over at dawn. Watch the first grains fall. Now, imagine turning away, getting lost in the market square, arguing over the price of figs, polishing armor you'll never wear, fretting over gossip that tastes like ashes in your mouth, while that steady stream pours unseen into the bottom bulb. That's the face of the thief. It's your own face, absorbed in the trivial, while the essential slips away. He called it postponing life. We live in the waiting room, convinced the real appointment is always just ahead. We save our finest wine for a feast that never comes. We hoard our kindest words, our most genuine laughter, our deepest passions, believing a more worthy moment will arrive to unleash them. But the worthy moment is the sand falling now. The thief convinces us that this grain, this quiet breath, this chance to listen, to create, to reach out a hand, is less valuable than the hypothetical grains of tomorrow. Seneca asks a brutal, beautiful question. What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself. That's the first step in unmasking the thief. To stop being an enemy to your own precious time. To stop the frantic bartering of now for later. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the mattress. This is a moment of your life, not a rehearsal, not an intermission. The main performance. The thief whispers, "Rest is idleness, push harder." But Seneca, the statesman, the playwright, the advisor to emperors, knew the profound value of stillness, of owning your time, even the time spent seemingly doing nothing, especially that time, because in the quiet you hear the whisper of the sand. You feel the pulse of your own aliveness. You reclaim your days from the imposter who promises a future built on the plundered ruins of your present. Think of a garden, your garden, real or imagined. Rich soil, promising seeds. You hold the watering can, but the thief whispers, "The weather might be better tomorrow. You're tired today. That weed isn't so big yet." Days pass. The soil dries and cracks. The seeds lie dormant, then rot. The weed spreads its roots deep, choking the potential. All the while, the thief nods sympathetically, offering excuses that sound so reasonable in your own voice. Seneca urges us to water the garden today, not with frantic, unsustainable effort, but with steady, present attention. Pull that single weed now. Plant that one seed now. The grand design may unfold slowly, but each conscious act in the now is a defiance of the thief. It's reclaiming a grain of sand. It's saying, "This moment belongs to me, not to the illusion of endless tomorrows." What peace comes from unmasking this thief? It's not the frantic hustle of trying to cram everything in before the sand runs out. That's just another mask the thief wears, the face of panic. The true peace is spaciousness. It's the quiet certainty that arises when you stop waiting for life to begin and recognize it is flowing through you, grain by grain, right now. It's the courage to say no to the trivial demands that drain your sand for no return. It's the fierce, gentle yes to the things that make your soul resonate, even if they seem small. Reading a poem by candlelight, truly tasting the cool water on your tongue, writing the letter, making the call, sitting in silence and feeling the world breathe around you. These are not indulgences, they are acts of reclamation. They are taking back the sand the thief would have tricked you into wasting. The hourglass turns at dawn, but you hold the glass. You decide where your gaze rests. Will you watch the thief's distracting performance, or will you watch the sand? Will you feel the precious weight of this single grain, this single breath, knowing it is the only coin you truly possess to spend in the marketplace of existence? Feel the sand, cool, silent, inevitable, falling. And know that awareness of its falling is the beginning of true wealth. The thief loses his power when you see his face is your own. Let that recognition soften your brow, slow your breath, bring you fully, tenderly, into the undeniable reality of now. The sand falls, a silent river, carrying us deeper into the night. But sometimes that river hits a rock. A spark flies, not the cool glow of the firefly, but a hot, sudden flare. Deep within, a growl begins, low in the chest. Where does that come from? And how do you walk through its heat without burning the world or yourself? Chapter 9. Where the Wolf Waits. Seneca's map for walking through fury unscathed, deep in the oldest part of the forest, where the trees grow close and the sunlight struggles to touch the mossy floor. There's a place, a stillness so profound it rings in your ears. And there he waits, not with bared fangs, not yet, just a shadow among deeper shadows, eyes like chips of cold obsidian reflecting the dim light. The wolf. He's been there since the first spark of human consciousness flickered. He's patient. He knows you'll come. You carry his scent on you now, a faint hot musk beneath the day's weariness. Seneca walked that forest path every single day, not to slay the wolf, but to learn its territory, to understand the ground where fury blooms like a poisonous flower. He knew the greatest battles aren't fought with legions on a field, but alone, in the dark woods of our own hearts. Tonight, let's find his map. Let's trace the path that walks right past the waiting wolf. Untouched. Anger, fury, Rage. It feels like a storm breaking inside you, doesn't it? A hot flood, a red wave crashing against the ribs, roaring in the ears. It promises strength. It promises justice. It promises the pure, clean release of striking back. Seneca, who saw emperors turn purple with rage, who felt the icy prickle of his own temper rising, knew this promise was the wolf's first, most seductive lie. Anger, he wrote, is like a ruin. It falls upon the thing it hits, yes, but it also falls upon itself. Picture that ruin. A beautiful temple, perhaps, struck by lightning. Splintered marble, scattered offerings, sacred fires trampled into mud. The lightning felt powerful in its instant, blinding fury. But look at the wreckage it leaves behind. Look at the scorched earth where it originated. The wolf doesn't care who it destroys. It only cares about the release of its own savage energy. And the first ruin it creates is always within the one who unleashes it. The poison enters your own veins first. He saw anger not as a sudden, uncontrollable beast, but as a choice, a series of steps taken willingly, though often blindly, down a familiar path. It begins softly, almost innocently, a slight, a frustration, a seed of hurt. Then comes the interpretation. They meant to harm me. They disrespect me. This is unfair. This is where the path forks. This is where Seneca's map becomes vital. He urges us to pause, right here, in the breath between the spark and the blaze, to question the story we're telling ourselves. Is that look truly contempt, or is it weariness? Is that delayed reply malice or forgetfulness? Is that obstacle an attack, or simply the indifferent turn of the world's wheel? The wolf thrives on certainty, on the absolute conviction of our own victimhood. The map asks for doubt, for a sliver of space, a single deep breath drawn into the tightening chest. Imagine that breath, cool, like forest air, flowing into the place where the heat is gathering. It doesn't extinguish the spark, not yet. It just creates room around it, room to see, room to choose. Seneca offered a startling image. The best remedy for anger is delay, not suppression, not denial, but delay. Give the initial surge, the hot red wave, time to recede, like a tide pulling back from the shore, revealing what lies beneath the churning surface. Often what's revealed isn't a monster, but a hurt, a fear, a profound sense of powerlessness. The fury was just armor, clanking and heavy, thrown on to protect the soft, vulnerable thing underneath. The wolf is the armor, the vulnerability. That's you. The map isn't about becoming invulnerable. It's about recognizing the armor is too heavy, too clumsy. It wounds you as you try to wield it. It attracts more blows. The path past the wolf requires laying down that armor, standing vulnerable in the forest glade, not weak, clear-eyed, seeing the situation and the other person not as a demon to be slain, but as another flawed, frightened traveler who might have stumbled onto your path. This isn't forgiveness forced. It's understanding sought. It's disarming the conflict by first disarming yourself. The wolf waits for the clash of steel. It starves in the face of quiet clarity. Think of fire again. Not lightning, but a hearth fire, contained, useful, warm. Anger, Seneca believed, could be like that, a signal fire. Its heat tells you something is wrong, something needs attention. But a signal fire is controlled. It's built in a safe place. It's tended carefully. It sends its message without burning down the forest. Your anger can be that signal. Feel its heat? Good. It means something matters. Now, tend it. Don't let it rage uncontrolled. Examine it. What is it telling you? What boundary was crossed? What value was threatened? What deep need feels unmet. Address that, calmly, clearly, if possible. Sometimes, the only thing you can address is your own reaction. The map leads inward. The path past the wolf often means walking away, not in defeat, but in profound self-respect. Refusing to let the wolf turn you into a ruin, preserving your inner temple. The victory isn't in dominating the other, but in mastering the territory within yourself where the wolf waits. The peace that comes from this. It's not the absence of conflict. The forest will always have shadows. The wolf will always wait. The peace is knowing the path. It's the quiet confidence of walking through the darkest part of the woods, senses alert, heart steady, knowing you carry the map. You know the signs, the tightening in the chest, the hot flush, the racing thoughts that paint the world in hostile colors. You recognize them as landmarks on the wolf's territory. And you know the detour, the deep breath, the questioning thought, the pause that creates space. You feel the armor's weight, and you choose to set it down. The vulnerability feels like cool air on skin, bracing, alive. You walk on. The wolf's eyes follow you from the gloom, but you don't feed it. You don't stop. You simply walk through its domain, unscathed, your inner temple intact, your hearth fire burning steady and warm, a beacon not of destruction, but of quiet, unassailable presence. Feel the forest floor soft beneath your unseen feet, the cool air, the steady beat of your own, untroubled heart, moving forward, leaving the waiting shadow behind. The path is clear. The night is deep, and you are safe within your own mastery. Sleep now. The wolf watches, but cannot touch the calm at your center. Let the forest sigh around you, and rest. Imagine, just for a moment, that everything you've ever chased, the applause, the banked coins, the polished titles, was merely sand slipping through your clenched fist. What if the treasure wasn't out there, glittering on some distant shore, but right here, pooling silently in the quiet hollow of your own chest? What if the most profound theft wasn't of your possessions, but of your attention, stolen moment by moment, leaving you holding only the husk of a life you barely recognize? Seneca saw this. He saw us, like frantic children chasing dust motes in a sunbeam, while the true sun set behind us, unnoticed. He saw the river, not the one outside your window, murmuring over stones, but the one inside you, the river of your days. And he asked, in a voice as soft as worn parchment, a question that might just unravel everything you thought you knew. Why do you cling so desperately to the banks, when the current itself is your only true belonging? Lean closer now, into the candle's flicker, and let's trace the path of that inner river. Together. Listen. Can you hear it? Beneath the thrum of your thoughts, beneath the low hum of the city outside your window, or the sigh of wind through trees, there's another sound, faint, insistent, the quiet rush of water over smooth stones. It's not outside, it's here, inside the chamber of your own awareness. This is the river Seneca spoke of, your river of time. Not some abstract concept philosophers debate, but the very substance of your existence, flowing now, carrying you, moment by irrevocable moment, from the source towards whatever lies beyond the bend. Most of us, Seneca observed, live like sleepwalkers on the shore. We build elaborate sand castles, careers, reputations, collections of things, right at the water's edge. We decorate them fiercely, defend them jealously, pouring our energy into fortifying these temporary structures against a current that cares nothing for our designs. We point downstream, shouting about future triumphs, future security, future happiness we will grasp then. Or we stare upstream, paralyzed by the rapids we've already passed, the rocks we struck, the bends we wish we could navigate again. We exhaust ourselves building dams against regret and piers towards hope, all while standing ankle deep in the flowing present. We forget to step into the water, to feel its coolness, its relentless pull, its vital energy carrying us. We forget that the river is the journey, not the castle on the shore, not the distant bend. The castle will wash away. The bend will arrive in its own time. But the water is life, slipping through your fingers even as you try to hold it. Can you feel the dampness on your skin? The gentle, undeniable tug? That's not loss, my friend. That's presence. That's the current of now. Think of the heaviness, that familiar weight you carry home at day's end. It's not the work, not really. It's the resistance. It's the strain of clutching the riverbank, muscles screaming, while the water beckons you to let go, to float, to trust the current. Seneca called it the burden of distraction, not distraction by trivial things, though that happens too, but the profound distraction of living everywhere but here, planning for tomorrow's meeting while your child shows you a drawing, rehashing yesterday's argument while the evening light turns the clouds to molten gold. We scatter our attention like seeds on barren rock, then wonder why our inner landscape feels so arid. The river flows, clear and cool, right through the center of your being, yet you stand parched on the bank, gazing longingly at mirages on the far horizon. What if, just for this one quiet hour in the dark, you stopped building, stopped striving against? What if you simply stepped in, not to swim frantically upstream or downstream, but to feel the water hold you, to feel the current of your breath, the pulse in your wrist, the soft weight of the blanket? This sensation, this awareness, this simple being here, this is the treasure Seneca guarded so fiercely. It's not found in grand gestures or accumulated wealth, but in the quiet surrender to the flow within. It's realizing the castle on the shore was never your home. The river was, and it's flowing right here, right now, carrying you. Feel it, the coolness, the movement, the effortless drift. There's no need to fight it anymore. Let the banks soften. Let the current take the weight. The river knows the way. All you need do is float. And as you float, carried by that inner current, a subtle shift occurs. The frantic grasping loosens. The world outside, with its demands and dramas, begins to feel different, less solid, less absolute, less yours to control, like mist rising from the water at dawn, revealing shapes you hadn't noticed before, shapes of fortresses built on sand. Listen now, as the wind carries a new story, not of rivers, but of walls, and the surprising freedom found outside them. Chapter 11. The fortress that was your prison picture, if you will, a towering stone fortress. Its walls are thick, ancient, scarred by weather and war. You built it yourself, stone by heavy stone. You built it for safety, to keep the storms out, to keep the wolves at bay, to protect the fragile treasure you believed resided only within its walls. You appointed guards, worry, vigilance, constant planning to patrol the battlements. You stockpiled weapons, arguments, defenses, justifications in case of siege. This fortress, Seneca whispers into the quiet, is your illusion of control. You think it shields you from life's chaos, but feel the air inside, thick with the dust of confinement. Feel the chill of the stone, radiating not safety, but isolation. Hear the echo of your own footsteps in the empty courtyard. The fortress you built to keep the world out has become your prison. And the key, the rusted, forgotten key, lies not in strengthening the walls, but in daring to step beyond the gate, into the very wildness you feared. What if the storm wasn't your enemy, but your teacher? What if the wolves were merely shadows cast by your own flickering torch? Lean into the stillness. Let the candlelight dance on imagined stone, and consider the walls you didn't know you built. Can you feel it? That familiar tightness in your chest when things go wrong? The traffic jam that ruins your morning? The careless word that stings like a wasp? The plan that unravels despite your meticulous knots? That tightness, it's the fortress walls contracting. It's the instinctive slam of the gate against the unexpected wind. Seneca saw this reflex in us all, the desperate need to command the uncontrollable sea. We rage against the tide, curse the clouds, demand the wind change direction. We exhaust ourselves trying to sculpt the ocean into a manageable pond within our fortress moat. But the ocean laughs. It crashes. It ebbs and flows according to its own deep, unknowable rhythms. Our fury changes nothing. Our plans are driftwood. The tighter we grip the illusion of control over other people's actions, over the market's whims, over the vagaries of health and fate, the more the fortress walls press in until we can barely breathe. The treasure we sought to protect, our peace, our joy, suffocates in the stale air of our own making. Seneca didn't preach passivity, not at all. He spoke of tending your garden within the storm, of adjusting your sails to the wind, not commanding it. The sailor doesn't control the ocean. He learns its language, respects its power, and navigates with it. The distinction is everything. One is a war you cannot win, fought from a prison of your own design. The other is a dance with life itself. Imagine releasing just one stone. Feel the weight lift from your palm. Cool air rushes through the gap. It carries the scent of rain on earth, distant and wild. That's the scent of freedom, not the freedom from hardship, but the freedom within it. The freedom of realizing the storm outside doesn't define the weather inside you. Your peace isn't held hostage by traffic jams or careless words. It resides in a quiet inner chamber, untouched by the outer tempest. Seneca called this the citadel of the mind. Its walls aren't stone, but perspective. Its guards aren't worry, but reason and acceptance. When the gale howls, you retreat here, not to hide, but to remember who you truly are, not the commander of the universe, but a soul navigating its currents. The insults of others, they only rattle the outer gates you no longer guard so fiercely. Lost possessions? They were never truly yours, merely borrowed from the stream of existence. Even pain, physical or emotional, becomes a fierce wind you learn to withstand, not by building higher walls, but by finding an unshakable calm at your core. Feel that calm now, a deep, quiet pool in the center of your being. The storm may rage, the fortress may crumble stone by stone, but this pool remains untroubled, clear. This is where your true power lies, not in controlling the uncontrollable, but in mastering your response to it, in choosing serenity over fury, acceptance over resistance, presence over panic. Let the outer walls dissolve, stone by imagined stone. Feel the wind on your face, real and cool. It doesn't destroy you. It reminds you, you are alive, and alive, you are free. Free, even now, in this quiet room. And as those imagined walls dissolve into the night air, leaving you standing open, unguarded, a curious lightness descends. The wind carries not threats, but whispers. The ground feels solid, yet yielding. And in this newfound openness, you become aware of roots. Not roots that bind, but roots that anchor deep into something nourishing, something essential. Roots tangled not with gold or stone, but with silence. Listen, as the earth itself begins to murmur a story about what truly grows and what merely glitters. Chapter 12. The Roots That Drink Silence. Consider the oldest tree in a forgotten grove. Its bark is gnarled, etched by centuries of sun and snow. Its branches reach wide, not in grasping, but in a patient, open receiving of the sky. It doesn't strain towards the light. It simply grows into it. Its true power, Seneca would murmur, lies unseen. Deep beneath the surface, roots delve into the cool, silent dark. They don't seek applause or attention. They seek only sustenance, water, silence, the rich, dark humus of the earth. While the world above clamors, birdsong, wind, the rustle of passing creatures, the roots simply drink. They anchor, they endure, they are the silent source. Now, look at your own hands. What do they grasp? Polished stones that glitter? Heavy sacks of grain, meant for a feast you never have time to enjoy? Titles written on parchment that crumbles to dust? We spend our days, Seneca observed, accumulating burdens, not treasures. We pile possessions like stones upon our own chests, mistaking their weight for worth. We chase the glittering distractions, the noise, the busyness, the next shiny thing, while our inner roots wither from neglect. We starve our deepest selves, feeding only the hungry ghosts of ambition and envy. What nourishment truly sustains a soul? Not gold, but stillness. Not fame, but the quiet certainty of an untroubled mind. Not possessions, but the profound richness of time, spent simply being. Here, in the candle's soft halo, let's sink down past the clamor, to where the true roots drink. Feel the weight, the sheer, exhausting volume of everything you manage. The appointments, the notifications, the expectations, the stuff. The relentless hum of the world demanding your eyes, your ears, your energy. It's like a cacophony of voices shouting just outside the grove of your mind. You try to listen to them all, respond to them all, possess them all, and the effort leaves you hollow, drained. Seneca called this the poverty of abundance. We are surrounded by more than any emperor of his time could imagine, and yet we feel emptier. Why? Because we feed the noise, not the silence. We tend the glittering leaves, not the deep, dark roots. The roots crave simplicity. They crave space. They crave the rich, dark soil of solitude and reflection. Not the loneliness of isolation, but the fertile solitude of the soul turning inward, listening to its own deep rhythms. Think of the last time you sat, truly sat, without a screen, without a purpose, without an agenda, simply listening to your own breath, feeling the sun on your skin, watching clouds drift like thoughts across the sky. That feeling, that expansive, quiet fullness, that's the root drinking. That's the soul finding its nourishment. Imagine shedding just one unnecessary burden. The weight lifts. Your breath comes easier. That's the feeling of a root pushing deeper, finding richer soil. True wealth, Seneca insisted, is measured not in what you add to your pile, but in what you can safely let go of. The opinion of the crowd? Let it go. Its shifting sand, the relentless pursuit of more? Let it go. It's a desert mirage. The gnawing anxiety about a future you cannot control? Let it go. It's smoke in the wind. What remains? the solid ground of the present moment, the quiet strength of your own reasoned mind, the deep well of contentment that springs from living simply, virtuously, attuned to the essential. This is the garden Seneca tended, not a garden of exotic blooms demanding constant attention, but a simple, orderly plot where necessary things grow: wisdom, courage, justice, temperance, watered by silence, anchored by roots drinking deep from the well of self-awareness. This garden doesn't fear the storm. Its roots are deep. It doesn't crave the glitter. Its fruit is the quiet satisfaction of a life lived according to nature, according to reason. Feel that satisfaction now, a gentle warmth spreading from your core. It's not excitement. It's not triumph. It's peace. A profound, unshakable peace that comes from knowing what is truly yours, your thoughts, your choices, your character, and releasing your desperate grip on everything else. Tend this inner garden. Water it with silence. Let your roots drink deep from the stillness of this very night. The world's clamor fades to a distant murmur, unimportant, like wind in far-off trees. Here, in the quiet dark, nourished by silence, you find the only wealth that ever truly mattered. And it was always right here, waiting for you to stop and simply be. Let the roots drink deep. Let the silence hold you, and sleep.